Oh, I love no sound.
We got a no sound share right here, and we're live on YouTube.
That's fine.
I
Yeah,
like it. I mean, I
it's good.
could. We can go Rocky theme instead. I like it. Welcome out.
Noah doesn't even know because Noah could probably
Oh,
hear it
I
in his
can
own
hear you.
headset.
I'm just beatboxing this. I'm just got it going on in my head. So the
Oh
sound is
goodness.
fantastic over here.
No big deal. Hey man, say la vie. That is life. One misclick here or there. It happens in trading as well. Welcome out to our halftime report here today, 2/6/2020. We've got Tim, Noah, and Cody, regulars here on the halftime show, and we're going to break down the markets for you one step at a time. Noah, how are you doing today?
Oh, I am absolutely fantastic.
Here on the halftime. There we
Thrilled.
go. Yeah, thrilled to be here. Well, the markets are also thrilled to kind of be breaking into new highs. There's not a lot of news in the market today. We're going to go through some interesting stuff. Yum Brands had their earnings. I want to talk about Pizza Hut here in just a minute, of all things. Twitter earnings, Tesla, continued volatility, some other interesting corporate news I'm going to get down to. But let's start with the broad markets themselves here, Noah. S&P 500, 33.57. I had you draw the line in the sand. It might have been last week, by the way, about around this time. And I'm like, Noah, if it breaks above there, you've got clarity. And we've had clarity since then. It's bounced. It's running. What's your read on the broad market here?
Hey, we're posting a new high today. 33.57.75. A little bit of a retest here in that old resistance at 33.30 ballpark there. Can see a retest on that. But again, yeah, once it cleared those moving averages and cleared that 3,300 zone, it was a quick trip up to that new high. Today's candle's slowing down a little bit. You're seeing a little bit of shrinking on the candle. That's a sign of slowing momentum. And like I said, you might likely see a little bit of a retest here. You might even see a bit of a retracement, but that same 3,300 zone, if it's not 33.30, 5-ish, 33.30, it'll come down and retest the 3,300 zone.
Yeah. And obviously some historic news over the night. And Cody, I did not want to forget about it. Trump, our president, was acquitted of his charges on impeachment. Markets, I don't know if the markets care. They kind of never thought he was going to get convicted anyway, right? It was never really priced in as a risk at point anyway. But what was your reaction, Cody, to that news? Obviously, that was a process that was in the forefront of all of our consciousness for a long time. How'd you process it?
Honestly, I read the headline probably the same way the market did. I read the headline. I was like, yeah, that's what we all kind of figured was going to happen. Like that's really what my thought was. Like it wasn't any like deep ongoing thought or anything. It was just all the headlines just say acquitted, and it was like, okay.
Yeah. I don't know if there's anything in the short-term political turmoil that is happening in the world, obviously, that can actually affect markets. Do markets care about the politics right now, Noah? Or are they going to get more interested later in the year?
Maybe as we get a little bit deeper into the election cycle. But at this point in time, they seem to be shrugging everything off.
Yeah, kind of priced in, shrugging it off. Obviously, very noteworthy of what happened there yesterday. The other news headline, and bring up FXI here for a minute if you can, Noah, just while we talk about the coronavirus. I read a funny headline on briefing.com this morning that the coronavirus has found the markets have found a coronavirus vaccine, Cody. Obviously, tongue in cheek, there is no vaccine yet for the coronavirus, correct? It's still spreading.
Yeah, I think the line that they had, which I thought was pretty funny, it said, there's no vaccine as of yet for the coronavirus, yet there is a vaccine apparently for the stock markets caring about the coronavirus.
Yeah.
Well, it's been inoculated against that for sure.
I hear so many different opinions about what's going on with coronavirus. I come at it from many different perspectives. Number one, the human element first, wanting to see some kind of resolution to it and for it to die down a little bit. But then the markets element, I still see the death toll going up, guys. I do believe we are still underpricing some of the risk. But at the end of the day, there's a reason why Coach Matt said this the other day on the halftime report. Trade what you see, guys. FXI is not the index I would end up buying. I would still play the U.S. markets, but I'm bullish because they're breaking out. You can't avoid being bullish when markets are breaking into all-time highs. You have to trade with the trend. The data still has some concern here, Noah. We talk about this. We kind of reference it every day, but I'm still seeing it go up. I mean, expanding cases, it's broadening its scope, its size, and all of those kind of things. Are markets underpricing this risk, Noah?
Boo, that's a great question. I mean, by underpricing it, mean ignoring it. I think that potential risk is still there. And again, I think the one thing that I see on it that makes me, feel better about it is the total people recovered versus the total death toll. You're seeing, that's a good number there. But then every time I refresh this screen, the total confirmed cases jumps dramatically. And, we're 28,353 at the last count. And how accurate this data is, that's really hard to say. But watching all the numbers rise makes me think that, it certainly could hit the market again with renewed fears if you were to see it expand or more cases, more fatalities.
I'm going to carry a mildly bullish posture as the markets continue to trend upward. But just based on my history trading, as long as I have, guys, these stories, they don't go away as quick as this one has. It doesn't feel logical to me right here, but the markets don't have to be logical all the time. The reality is the S&P, the Dow, the NASDAQ, they're all showing me bullishness. In fact, the S&P hit an all-time high today. The Dow as well. Look at the NASDAQ, Noah. Flash through the indexes real quick if you can. That's just incredible. Bullish.
Yeah, quite a bit of strength there. Again, not near the size of the dip as the other indices. And just powering on through. Just nice engulfing range there. Clearing the highs again, right there, lingering out near the all-time high today.
Mm-hmm.
You do see the candle shrinking and slowing down a little bit, but I would expect the momentum to taper off here towards the end of the week on a Friday, perhaps. Maybe you'll see some profit taking after what seems to be a very profitable week across the board.
Definitely has been a strong week for stocks. There's no question about it. We're the fourth day in and we've got 4 strong green candles across most indexes. The one notable difference will be the Russell 2000, which we talked about it yesterday. Both you and I expect it to test the high, but as of right now is starting to develop the very, very beginning stages of a potential head and shoulders here. That's a weird pattern, obviously, but you got the old pivot, the new pivot. I'm not going to overthink this one yet right here, Noah, but head, shoulder, right?
Yeah, I can see that potentially forming right shoulder. And really that started, Tim, with just the size of that first, that big correction. When you look at the size of the sell-off, the sell-off you saw in late December was pretty small, but the sell-off you saw here for this, second half of January, pretty big sell-off. And that, engulfed the previous range. So if you back that out to like weekly timeframes, you do see that kind of engulfing type candlestick action where it's not quite an engulfing. If you were to set your time frame just right, it would. Mm-hmm. But it swallowed up the previous move. And so that deeper correction is what sets up that potential head and shoulders, that right shoulder out there.
Yeah. Currencies, then again, commodities.
Isn't the Russell usually the lagging sector of them all? So when we're seeing the S&P hitting new highs, we're seeing the NASDAQ hitting new highs, we're seeing the Dow push up there, still a little bit behind. Don't you just think that this is just the Russell possibly lagging behind?
No, could be. I mean, that's a new trader right there thinking about the market recently.
No, I'm posing the question, versus the pattern.
No need to be sensitive, kid. I'm just pointing a fact out.
I'm asking.
You've been trading for 4 years, right? The Russell for
6 years.
6 years. 6 years. The Russell,
2014 is when I started trading.
In different times, it actually leads the market. There's the old assumption that actually small caps lead. In good markets, usually the Russell's up more. Last year was a real big anomaly in one regard. The S&P, whatever its annual gain was, end of the year, the Russell underperformed it. Usually when you have a real big year in stocks, the small caps are going to be the number one leading index. It's not always. So it can be really inconsistent is what I'm going to say, Cody, is all my answer is, right? Yep. It doesn't necessarily correlate it because it comes back to why the Russell is moving or why it's not moving. Small cap stocks are really sensitive to interest rate cycles. They're really sensitive to other factors like global economic growth versus local growth. Right now, I think the Russell has a lot of catch up to do on the long-term chart. And maybe one quick look at this like 5, 10, 15-year chart here, Noah, and take a peek at this Russell over the long haul. After the crash in 2008, we bottomed at like 300 and change. And then we rallied 600% almost, 550, 600%. So it had more growth in small caps over the bull market the last 10, 11 years than even most of the other ones. Because when it flies, Cody, it flies.
Yep, it flies.
Yeah, it can definitely fly. for now, head and shoulders, developing in the short term. If you
Well,
break
for
seven,
you say you see a head and shoulders from this perspective. I can see myself a cup and handle.
there you go.
If you have a positive enough attitude on this, anything can break out.
Yeah. If you
maybe not.
Yeah.
If you believe in yourself and you leverage yourself enough,
you can just do like the Care Bear hug, and you can just positively will the market to break out for you.
Yeah, absolutely.
I doubt it, but I will say this: if it breaks 1700, it's probably going to crack 1750 in a heartbeat.
Yep.
Because there's some upside there, and really that old resistance 1742 that will come into play. Look for the rut this year to be a big performer. When we did our prediction podcast, I have a bias here, guys. I think the Russell has the chance to be the best index of the year. Low interest rates, these companies can benefit from that. If the economy stays strong, Cody, I really do think small caps can run. So I'll admit my bias here. No doubt about it. Let's move on to the dollar and also then into commodities. Couple of data points. I saw some jobs numbers come in today, but quite frankly, the jobs report tomorrow is the important one. News-based trading in the Forex market is on the table. You've got that monthly unemployment report. It isn't as big of a mover as it was 10, 15 years ago, Noah, when the markets were much more focused on the labor market. Right now, we just got full labor, full employment is what we have. I'm watching the dollar here. This is a pretty nice candle, Cody. You're my Forex guy. Yep. What's your read? Because a lot of people look at that and say breakout.
So that's what I was saying yesterday, that I wanted to see it actually close above yesterday's and continue to move. So I was really looking at those wicks on that pivot, and it was pushing up against them when we were on the halftime report yesterday, and it did close above those wicks. So I did actually, do some Forex trading late last night and early this morning, and I haven't been doing much Forex trading the past 3 weeks because it's just been choppy and hasn't really shown a pattern. So now that I'm starting to see more of a pattern, I did take some trades this morning on the dollar, because that did show bullishness. So I'm getting a little bit more bullish on the dollar, but it's pressing right up against its next resistance level. Mm-hmm. So in this market, where when it was neutral for so long, there's so many levels of resistance that are in the way now that you can't go too bullish on it. But this is definitely looking more bullish than it was neutral in the previous weeks.
Yeah, I think so. I'm not going to get too aggressive on the dollar one way or the other. Obviously, interest rates are low. We've got the same quantitative madness that we've had for a long time, and the Fed keeps pumping money into the market. Can the dollar break and run? Maybe. I do think the other rags around the globe, the euro is in trouble. The pound is in trouble in the short term. It's a complex market. Looks like a breakout, though, in the short term. Pay attention to the jobs numbers tomorrow. With the dollar running, going to bring commodities back a little bit, usually. Crude oil, Noah, is trying to hold 50. And I read a report from OPEC that they're recommending a 600,000 barrel per day supply cut, which is huge. That would be big. They're going to start tapering off supply and see if they can hold the price here. It's hard to bet against OPEC, but that trend hasn't confirmed yet, Noah. Do you expect 50 to hold?
I don't. I think it'll break first, and then maybe you'll get a recovery. But right now, that's a pretty bearish looking pattern. A lot of downward momentum, and then a very short term, almost a little profit taking down there more than anything would be what I'd guess. I think that, and what they announced, sure, we'll cut inventories, but that's going to take time for it to actually affect price. And you're assuming that, beyond OPEC also cuts production.
It's a complex chart here, though, isn't it?
Yeah.
If you're just trading the chart, you would short.
Well, yeah. Then you back it out to a weekly perspective, and you see there's a big support zone that's being, tested and violated, and there's room for it to drop down towards the 43 down to 40. So, below 50 is a big number. And once it hits, think about all the stops that are sitting down there, all the people that'll capitulate.
That's right. Yeah. It's a tough one. If you had bull puts down at like 46, 45, deep out of the money, you're playing zone defense, you're a cash flow trader, and you're watching it just fall like that falling knife. You've got to at least be hedging or concerned here, I'm sure. Trade your trading plan. There's no doubt about it. But if I'm looking at the pivots, I got old support in June, old support in August, old support in October, all at 52, Noah. And now the riding the lightning on the way down, this falling 9 EMA, that's a short setup. It's an aggressive one, but you're trending down, aren't you?
Yeah, it's definitely got all the signs of bearishness. So If I consulted my magic 8 ball, it would say it is decidedly so.
So do you trade the chart, or do you have faith in OPEC and the Saudi princes? That is one we're going to have to
trade the chart, right?
Yeah, I think you got to trade the chart. Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Speaking of which, natural gas. I'm waiting for a chart signal that's going to give me the confidence to come in on this one. I love the product. Obviously, it's been warmer weather recently, and this commodity, like many of the energies, have been down. It's down big time the last couple of months. Down here, a little momentum kind of floating in here. Noah, are you seeing any slowing momentum there? Or am I reading into that?
There is a slowing momentum right in here. And, it's always important, I think, to put it into context. You've got the significant all-time lows, down here.
Mm-hmm.
So this is a really big support zone. And you do have a slowing momentum pattern into it. The question is will you see that, see a rally? I want to see it posting higher highs. I want to see it violating probably the $1.90 zone and getting up above that 20-period moving average. But it looks like it's crossing above the 9 right now. So that might have some of your shorts, covering, and might be giving some of the early buyers some confidence.
Yeah, I'm with you.
I'm not ready to buy in on that, particularly not directionally. But
I'm not there yet.
It's definitely got the slowdown.
Yeah, momentum change notable, but let's wait for it to actually give us a better signal. Gold is neutral, holding support. Silver neutral, platinum. Man, palladium. This palladium chart we're going to look at here in a minute. Start with gold, then palladium. Noah.
Well, gold looks like it's doing another little retest there on that 1550 zone. So that's a big price point for it. This is starting to create a little sideways consolidation between the 1550 and the 1600 zone. So whichever, those two lines in the sand break first, that's the way my bias is going to turn. Mm-hmm. But, there's still some signs of strength here.
No, I know how to make you happy. You know how to make you happy? You show you a perfect technical pattern. Look at copper.
Okay.
This is an old support break, bear retracement into old support with a candle pattern. See, that makes you happy, doesn't it?
It does. That does. Like I have a little Pavlovian response. I start thinking of ways that I could trade it.
I know my friend Cody. I knew this chart was going to make him happy because of old support, new resistance developing, right?
Yeah. The only thing that would make that better. Hold on. Wait for it. I'm gonna draw myself a Fibonacci on there, and it's gonna pan out.
You know how to upset
like
me.
You think.
See, here I am trying to bring you joy, and you're just trying to trigger me here. No.
Oh, you know what? I was wrong, Tim. It's not as pretty a setup as I thought. Yeah. I just drew imaginary lines on a chart for nothing.
Well, do you wick or not to wick? That's
to wick or not to wick.
To wick.
Well, the algos make you wick, so that's how you have to run it.
Yeah. Well, one thing that's going to make me happy is a conversation about Bitcoin real quick. Obviously, copper, pretty interesting. Actually, quick look. We didn't look at palladium. I wanted to look at that chart real quick. Little M pattern developing here. Obviously, it's been one of the most bullish metals there is in the market for so long. But I think at least noteworthy that the volatility and the volume is coming in on red candles at the top here, Noah. Little M consolidation. With as crazy as that one is, it easily could just break and run. I get that. It's not proof that it's going to come back, but those are some big red candles with volume coming in behind them.
Yeah, it's got to take out that 2150 to give you the full double top action. It could continue to consolidate in here, but that's a pretty clear double top. If it reestablishes a double bottom down there at the 2150 zone, that becomes a setup that might be interesting.
Yeah, I'm with you. I do want to talk Bitcoin here today, guys, for like just a couple minutes maybe, and not necessarily because of the chart or whatnot. I read a report that the central banks are going to create their own digital currency, that they're putting money, they're calling it the CBDC. You might have heard about this or read about it in the past. And they're racing to try to get the technology behind it and get it out there and have all the central banks running it globally, Noah. And it just makes me think about this whole market of cryptocurrencies. Maybe all the regulation and all the subterfuge and all of the ranting and the chanting about how Bitcoin needs regulation is just because they want to run their own,
Yeah.
It's amazing to me, Facebook is still trying to get their Libra out there. You might have a central bank digital currency, and here's Bitcoin looking primed. I don't know what it's going to take to get people interested in these cryptos, but I'm interested. I'm there. I'm focused. I think there's new opportunities here, Noah. Are you starting to buy into that line of thinking at all?
Well, yes, and there's part of me, the deeply skeptical part of me, says it's really hard to hide Bitcoin under your mattress.
Yeah.
That's the only thing that Bitcoin can't really be doing is you can't really stash it away. It's trackable, it's traceable, right? So Bitcoin, Fed coin, whatever you want to call it, it's the future.
I mean,
There's no doubt about it.
Stuffing a computer under there just makes your bed a little bit lumpier.
Just a little bit lumpier. But yeah, it's I think it's the way it is the future. For me, it's just a question of what format it takes and whether it's a Bitcoin being adopted or if the central banks get together and create, their what is it called? What is it called again?
They're calling it the CBDC, which sounded like CBD oil to me at first, but
CBDC,
central bank digital currency. Not exactly a very clever marketing name there, but
what they lack in creativity, they can make up for in just sheer willpower. Just force and power.
They control the market. That's exactly right.
They can make up in money.
There's no doubt. There's no doubt. It will be interesting. There's no question about it to watch that process play itself out. But we're nowhere near. In fact, the entire thing about Bitcoin during the bubble and the burst is everybody just was saying, I remember you saying, Noah, this is just too early. Given a 5 or a 10 or a 20-year timeline, yes, I believe in the tech. And so many people have been using that logic. And I think that bubble really shook a lot of veteran traders off of these currencies, quite frankly, because people who've been around markets are like, okay, this manipulation, I'm not interested in it anymore, but I'm coming back to them. I think there's a lot of opportunity here, quite frankly.
Well, and I think as more and more instruments, and I guess you would call them derivatives, right, have risen around the Bitcoin, like the bubble on Bitcoin didn't pop until they had futures that could be shorted.
Yeah.
And now that you have options becoming available on it and things of that nature, I think it gives a trader, an experienced trader, more ways to hedge their positions.
Little bit more for me.
Choices. Yeah. So I think that makes it a lot more viable for traders. And I was a holdout. I watched it rise and run, and just like Tesla's chart, I'm okay missing out on those runs because I don't want to chase the dragon. I don't want to be buying in at the top.
I've always said this about trading, though. It's not about the risk and the actual underlying product. It's about how you approach position sizing and the risk. I mean, nobody would ever advocate go put all your money in Bitcoin. That would be crazy.
Oh, I saw people advocating that.
I saw that, and it was crazy at the time, and it's still crazy today.
There were people advocating for taking out a second mortgage on your home to buy Bitcoin.
I've been watching videos of kids on TikTok telling people to buy Tesla. And how they can make all this money on it is a riot to watch, but it's also like, that they're being sincere. And
that's crazy to me.
Yeah. I had a friend text me and ask me if he should buy Tesla. And I was like, no, you're not going to buy at the top. He was like, but it keeps going up. And I was like, no. I was like, you're having FOMO. Don't do it.
Let's move on to some stocks here. Start with Tesla. We should probably talk about Tesla every day first. It is finding and writing the 9 EMA, even with all the craziness there is in the market. It's amazing to me.
Tell me that wouldn't make Mark happy to see that. I mean, literally just kiss the 9 ever so gently and softly before rallying back up.
I love that phrase. In fact, in the chat, guys, if you're watching the show right now, write in kiss the 9.
Kiss the 9.
I do like that. It came down to the decimal point.
He does call the 9 his girlfriend.
That's right. A stock that has gone parabolic, that is wiping out shorts, that went from 600, 970 in 3 days. Then it came back and just bang right into the 9 EMA to the penny. And people tell me technical analysis doesn't work. That's crazy. Obviously there are signals here. There are triggers here. The computers are programmed to watch that data and that information. Up 4.5% today. I mean, it is a very, very crazy stock. There wasn't real notable news on Tesla today, by the way. They were talking about short selling interest and what's happening right now. But this has caught the consciousness. Cody, your friend who doesn't trade every day, texts you about Tesla. Noah, your daughters who are on TikTok are seeing videos about Tesla. That concerns me a little bit too, Noah, don't you think?
Well, it absolutely does because, you have the blind leading the blind, and I watched a few of the videos and there was, college kids like whiteboarding how you make $1 million in 2020 buying Tesla. And they made all kinds of really great assumptions, and they're sitting there whiteboarding out the math and showing you how you can make 2% every day. It's just like, oh man. Okay. Well, somebody's going to get stuck holding the bag.
God bless
and
them.
It's always the late adopters on these types of parabolic trends that get stuck holding the bag.
Hey man, I'd rather have some of those college kids figuring out the stock market, maybe getting in a little bit here, losing, winning a little bit here and there, than never trying it. I'm glad to hear that. I see so many millennials that aren't doing much with their time right now, and I don't want to be the old guy complaining about the young generation today, so I'm going to move on. But Tesla is obviously very interesting here. Another one, Yum Brands, bring this one up. This one tugged at my heartstrings when I read about this a little bit, because I actually read a report recently. Yum Brands is going to close all of their actual in-store Pizza Hut locations across the country. And Cody, when I was a kid, going to the Pizza Hut after a ball game was a special treat. Didn't do it all the time, but you'd have the pizza buffet, you'd have the salad bar, you'd have the Miss Pac-Man in the corner, and they don't make money on it anymore. So they're going to close them down. Pizza Hut lagged their sales this quarter as well. And Noah, that's not a good gap down, not a concerning thing. I guess my real question is, do you guys still order and eat Pizza Hut? Because I don't.
I don't, but I do know what you're talking about. It was the old Pizza Huts. That was a staple.
We always went to CC's after baseball games. CC's Pizza.
That hadn't been invented yet when I was a kid. There was no such thing as that CC's.
That was not an available pizza. Let me throw a poll out to our audience here. What's your go-to? I'm not talking about New York by the slice pizza. I'm not talking about you're going down to Carmine's when you're in Brooklyn, New York, and getting the greatest by the slice pizza on the planet. What I'm saying is you get that, national chain. Your national chain type pizzas.
Your Cody, Domino's, your Pizza Hut, your Papa John's.
Brandon wants to fight, apparently. He's saying, is there any good pizza in Utah?
Brandon,
there's fighting words, Brandon. Bring it on.
Brandon, there's good pizza everywhere. People love pizza. The Pie Hole downtown and the Pie down on the University of Utah campus, both excellent pizzas. Noah would probably know both those locations.
Pizza is one of those things that even if it's bad, you're still going to finish the slice.
100%. So Steven's a Papa Murphy's guy. I'm a Domino's guy. If I'm going to order one, and my wife is a Little Caesars, pick it up on the way home from cheer or something for the kids to get something real quick. Yeah. Pizza Hut has been losing this game, haven't they?
I think a little bit. I typically tend to order from Papa Murphy's or a local joint that's a little bit more expensive, but worth every penny.
And Brandon, one of my favorite things to do is go after a city or a state. And I love the city of Chicago. I'm not going to say anything bad. I'm just going to tell
Tim froze. I'll finish what he was saying. Chicago pizza.
2.5 inches thick.
That's a casserole. There it is.
Tim, you.
I was just guessing.
Chicago pizza is not pizza. It's a casserole. It's not pizza. You're baking it 2.5 inches thick with the sauce on top, Brandon. It's all right. All right. Obviously, people are not choosing Pizza Hut right now. Not exactly a big brand, and Yum Brands is losing on that.
Check out Yum China. There you go.
Yeah, same pattern though. I mean, same kind of chart pattern in some ways. By the way, I think their Chinese brands actually is one. If I had to pick one or the other, I would take Yum C over Yum, because their expansion of KFC in China is huge, and they're really getting those brands into new markets. I don't know. Interesting, notable, big company. Twitter, next one here. Twitter's up huge.
Twitter had some fantastic earnings.
Yeah, Cody, obviously I read the revenue numbers. It was the first quarter they ever did $1 billion in revenue. They actually, what was the EPS posting down there? Because I think they missed.
0.29, it says 15 is actual, so it looks like they had a miss.
But the miss was because they spent a lot of money into infrastructure engineering and new projects. So like when I was reading the report, Cody, actually the earnings were good. The revenue was good. They're reinvesting money right now. I've had the long-standing opinion. I believe Twitter can end up becoming maybe one of the biggest social media company on the planet. I know Facebook has that kind of MO right now because they also own Instagram, but Twitter has something Facebook doesn't, where you can cultivate the conversation in the way you want. It can be politics, it could be religion, it could be whatever you want. It can be negative, Cody, as well. I know the Twitter trolls are out there, right?
I really tried to tone down the trolling. It's a challenge, though. I feel the urge sometimes.
Yeah, no, I get it. They had blowout earnings, guys. They're up 18%. They're breaking out. What's your next trade here? I mean, projecting out, Noah, what would you need to see for you to want to do something with Twitter?
Oh man, that's a tough question, because with a gap like that, I'm always trying to avoid being a reactionary trader. And in this case, it's got a lot of momentum. If it ends up closing up near that high, I could see a momentum trade where you go in and you trade it bar by bar if it continues to rise. But if it doesn't hold that near the high for the day and you see it come back down, then that puts you back into kind of a no man's land where I'd have to wait to see if it's going to go back up and retest that high or come back down and fill a gap. So at this point in time, it kind of comes down to where it closes today. And if you see some momentum to the upside, that's probably actionable.
Yeah.
But unless it does that, I think, that kind of a reaction, they often tend to overreact to the good news.
Yeah, it's, by the way, the intraday is really impressive as well, not just the daily candle. If you go down to an intraday chart, almost opposite. I can't remember what stock we were looking at yesterday that broke out. I think it was Disney, broke out and failed and came down all day long. Twitter, it was up 8% at the open. We're up now 18%. It's run another 10% since the opening bell here, Noah. Just incredibly impressive follow through on the intraday chart from day traders as well.
Well, yeah. Disney's reclaiming what it lost yesterday today.
Let's take a peek at that chart. I did not see that one this morning.
You stay intraday. It hasn't quite made it yet, but you can see
starting to come back.
I got you a little inside candle there.
Yeah. Oh, very good point right here from Mohammed. Coach Tim, Twitter is also very active in big data services. I think a lot of these companies are moving in that direction as well, Mohammed, but I like what the company's doing. I obviously the market does as well. It's up 18% today, one of the leaders in the market. This company, Noah, I did not even, until I read the headline today, I didn't even know they were publicly traded. 7-Eleven, SVNDY.
I didn't know it was publicly traded either. What was it? SVND. That's so many ticker letters. That's got to be an OTC stock, right?
Over the counter, maybe. I bet you could trade it through your broker.
It's an OTC, so yeah, you can trade. Yeah, most brokers can fill you on over the counter stuff.
What's interesting about this one is when I was a kid, 7-Eleven was the biggest thing in my town. It was the only gas station we had. We'd go down and play arcade games.
Oh, yeah, me too.
Yeah.
So I wasn't the only one in my town, but it was the closest one to my house. And I can tell you, I probably pumped as many quarters as a kid could find into Double Dragon. That was the coolest video game ever.
Yeah. They announced today that they're going to be testing out in their home state of Texas, which is where their corporate headquarters are, cashierless stores. Okay. I've had a hard time with that word all day, by the way, cashierless stores. So basically automation, Noah, this is the wave. We heard this with Amazon Go recently with some of the locations they're going to do. 7-Eleven's going to be doing a cost benefit analysis on whether or not they got to put somebody behind the cashier. You install the 7-Eleven app, you go into the store, whatever you get, it pays you right through the app. This is the future, whether it's 7-Eleven or anywhere else, right? At some point, we're going to have this tech.
I imagine, yes.
Does it bother you?
It bothers me a little bit. Like when I occasionally will stop in at the McDonald's with my little kid, and I always go to the counter to order, even though there's 4 kiosks right there for you to order on. Mm-hmm. I just am that guy who tries to go to the counter to the living, breathing person who has a job there for whatever reason that is. Unless the line's long, then I'll go to the kiosk, but
right.
I do. It does. It's troublesome in the labor market aspect of it, but the convenience aspect of it, it's just hard to argue with convenience. People go for it.
Well, and the bottom line in capitalism, what's going to happen is you're going to see companies move towards this if they can save money. I don't think there's a debate about that. I have a hard time with it as well because I'm the type of person, anybody who knows me, I'm very much a people person. I like talking to people. The grocery store I go to, I know the ladies, most of them by their first name. I sit and chat with them and make bad jokes and all that kind of stuff while I'm checking out. And maybe I'm that guy. Maybe they also talk about me like the guy who always talks to them. I don't know. But I enjoy having human interaction. I don't want to just live in a world where I'm just dealing with computers all the time. But that being said, we're seeing this. We're seeing it with Amazon. We're seeing with retail stores. And it's moving more and more in this direction. I mean, automation's real. It's going to be moving forward. We've got to find companies that can take advantage of it.
When I don't know, like Amazon's got their same day 2-hour grocery delivery service coming in. Walmart in my neighborhood has a couple of little old stores like 7-Elevens, like they've taken over old Circle K's and things of that nature and put in just pickups, like where people can come pick up. They can order online and come pick up the stuff right at that little local shop. And I'm seeing that get a little bit more active.
Mm-hmm.
But cashierless is probably the future. And again, I'm a little resistant to it just because I do try to be the people person.
Yeah, and Linda says her dad owned two 7-Elevens and taught her work ethics. And I love that. I learned my work ethics from my father as well, Linda and my mother, both of them very, very hardworking people. And having an entrepreneur in your family, I mean, there's something about that. That's really cool to hear that. And it does give you that local connection. Interesting news, noteworthy news, and the fact that I didn't even know they were publicly traded. Obviously, an OTC that doesn't have a lot of volume. A couple of other stocks I want to talk about before we get into our Therapy Thursday, where you guys give us some stocks, we give you some analysis. Take a look at Peloton, PTON.
I haven't looked at the chart today, but I saw some PTO and saw some buzz that they had a bad miss.
Bad miss, down 10% on the daily. It was looking good, Noah, with higher pivot high, higher pivot low. Boom, into support here.
Is there like a subscription in addition to buying the bike to begin with?
Oh yeah. I don't know if it's $50, $100, but it's a SaaS product. So you buy the physical bike, then you got the video, you subscribe to Peloton, like the IP they own, and they have, I think that's the whole thing. That's the business model.
That's a pretty smart system then. If they have the subscription on top of just purchasing, because if they were just the bikes, then I mean, once everyone who's going to buy one buys one, then what?
No, I think it's like all workouts and classes, and you got live video streaming directly to your Peloton and the whole thing, and then
it's really
ways
cool
to track it through the tech. From what I understand, I mean, it's high end. You're paying premium for the service, but people who can pay for it and afford it, they love it. You know, I hear big personalities talk about it all the time. So I'm not saying I'm against the idea here, but here's further proof. Until you get a couple of quarters of earnings, established charts, it's hard to trade new companies that are IPOing on the market for the first time. Noah, this could spin it into a downtrend. I know it's only down 10% on an IPO stock. That's not a lot. On a bigger blue chip company, that'd be huge. How would you approach the chart just from a gapping perspective?
Well, from a gapping perspective, you're down into an established support zone. You got a minor pivot support zone down there at the call it $29 zip code. And that becomes the first real, physical barrier for the stock. It's down below all the moving averages. You don't even have a 200 period moving average coming in yet because it hasn't had 200 periods worth of data to really kick that in. So at some point in time, you'll have a 200 period moving average somewhere down in here that could also factor in. But below that 29 zone, the next zone, you call it maybe 28-ish, right? Not too far off of where it originally opened up at 27. And that 27 zone is definitely a support resistance zone where it's tested in that zip code, not just once or twice, but it's, that's where it opened. It's been resistance. It's acted as support. So I'd say that whole neighborhood down there becomes the benchmark price for it.
Yeah, I'm with you. It's going to be interesting watching this thing, develop in that regard. If you are interested in ownership, actually, after an earnings gap, if I believed in the company enough, I might sell a naked put down where I'd be willing to buy it. I'm not there on Peloton. I think it's way early in that process to say I want to own it long term from a fundamental perspective, but that's a different conversation from trading, which actually can kind of lead us into our discussion about Therapy Thursday that we do every Thursday. We have some fun with this. It's more of a longer term version of our Delta Tuesday rapid fire. One more company before we go into that. Everybody get your stocks ready.
You got to go back up and read James' comment right at the very open of the coach's show here. James says, "Happy Theta, Therapy Thursday, halftime crew and team tackle discussing marital options with Dr. Phil." Dr. Phil, I like the way you played that, James. That's clever.
I do like Phil. That. And then James actually makes a good point about automation. He says, similar app on Sam's Club helped me save about 30, 45 minutes on waiting in lines. Consumers are going to want the efficiency and the ability to go into a store, get their stuff and leave. I get that. I don't know. I mean, let's just not all, suck into the void of modern technology and not talk to each other. Let's make an effort of that. I think that's the only thing. Whenever I hear stories about automation, I get concerned that society's moving to digital, Cody. I'm the old guy. I know.
That's why as traders, we put on the show, because otherwise we'd just be staring at a screen all day.
I would lose my mind. That's right. I would lose my mind. All right. Let's have some fun here. Therapy Thursday, by the way. Before we do, there's one company we didn't get to. We have to. It's Boeing. The FAA did announce they're approving the 737 MAX kind of software redesigns. At least that's what they're expecting. Some positive news on Boeing and one of the most bearish charts there were on the market coming into the week, Noah. Stop loss is important, right?
Yeah, I'm just making sure I didn't have any, random positions on Boeing. Just like, because I know we had looked at that on the bear list and thought that was a pretty good looking bear setup. Obviously, news and information can alter any technical setup. So, that just seeing those two candles pop up, that's quite a bit of momentum. I'm still skeptical, but.
All right. Now we are going to be doing these Therapy Thursday stocks by approval only. So I'm not going to go through everything, and depending on the time we got, maybe 2 or 3 each. Let's do this. Let's start with Ulta. Aditya says Ulta. Noah, this is a perfect one for you. And by the way, Cody, the premise here is longer term, right? You already have a relationship with it. How should you approach it if you already have a relationship?
Well, maybe you're looking to get in a relationship.
Sure.
Maybe you're prospecting a relationship.
There you go. Courting, right?
Yeah. Is this the stock you take home to mother? Maybe it's back up above. It's testing that 200 period moving average after having a big gap down, but it's held that ground. And if you back it out to a weekly perspective, it's still I think overall bullish sentiment there. The macro highs are still higher. The macro lows are still higher, and it is back up above 200 week moving averages. It's a big mover, and it'd be nice if it started paying a dividend. That'd be a good thing for it. But overall, I think that's got some bullish sentiment behind it.
Yeah, definitely bullish. Been an interesting company fundamentally for a long time. From a long-term 10, 15-year perspective, Noah, you and I, we've seen this one grow and grow and grow and grow, obviously. Do you take it home to mom? I thought we were going to get a makeup joke in there somewhere, but we left that one on the table. Let's move on to the next one, PLIN. I don't know this company. Actually, and then we'll come back to AT&T. The China Jingzhe Food Company.
It is a penny stock in a foreign country. I would not take this away because the Chinese government lies about a lot of things. I don't like penny stocks, and I don't like smaller companies that I don't know if the data I'm getting out of it could be wrong.
Yeah, and Knut, Opland Moen, great to have you at our show. And by the way, anybody watching us live for the first time, make sure you like it, you subscribe it, you come and join us every day. It's just a philosophy. I think most of the coaches you're going to find, traders at Tackle Trading, they've got an approach to penny stocks. And I would say almost 99% of them, Noah, they just do not trade them, because there's lower hanging fruit. There's easier ways to approach the market. Don't know the company. That's a funky candle. You want to talk about high range volatility candle? Whoa. I don't even know what to do with the chart because it's one of those things where it says trade what you see. I'm not even sure what I'm seeing here other than a crazy candle today that really invalidates every other. You don't have a lot of technical information to begin with. So this is a speculative play at best. And I would say feel free to speculate, just make sure it's not the rent money that you're speculating with. You got to make sure it's completely disposable money that you're willing to play around with if you're going to speculate on those types of things. And if you're in a long-term relationship, you better probably be looking real long and hard at whether or not that's got a future or not is all I would say. Let's move on to AT&T. Looking for a covered call play. I don't want to tell somebody to get a divorce, Cody. I mean, that would never be good therapy recommendation, you think? Can you imagine going into the therapist? You're trying to get marriage counseling. Like, it's not going to work out for you guys. Imagine your life.
I don't know if it's an abusive relationship, both physically and verbally and mentally, and things have been happening. Like, for instance, PCG, you should leave that company.
Yeah.
They lie to you. They cheat on you. They abuse you. It's like there are some times where you say, you need to leave.
You're taking this into a darker location than I want to go, so we're not going there. AT&T, and we're neutral. Dividend. This one, Cody, I'll give this one to you. I mean, this is old Steady Eddie right here, right?
That's exactly what it is. Yeah, AT&T is definitely a long-term play. That if you want a steady relationship, that's got a nice dividend. It's going to pay the bills. It's going to be consistent. We know that the largest phone company and service provider in the world isn't going to go anywhere. People are going to use their cell phones. Service is going to happen. It's going to continue to expand. There's still places that don't have good cell reception things. So there's still places to grow. And that's not even talking, some of the 5G stuff, but just getting more cell phones out there and more service out there, some of the more rural locations. AT&T, I'm okay with anyone who wants a long-term relationship with AT&T.
Yeah,
It's the safe choice.
It's a safe play, no doubt about it, which is probably good for a relationship. I like stability and safety and all that kind of stuff.
AT&T is like the one your grandmother recommends.
And
it's the one your grandmother tries to arrange the marriage for you on.
But you got to understand, grandma's smart.
Yeah, she's got experience.
You should trust grandma. That's all I'm saying.
She's just telling you. Grandma's like, oh,
they come for money. Boy. They pay a dividend.
That's right. That's right. American Express. Next one here. Noah, I'll give this one to you. Credit card company.
You know, the whole financial service sector has been showing some signs of strength. They all consolidated a little bit out here at the top, but this is all signs are bullish. It's above all the moving averages. You know, it's got a little bit of selling pressure out here at the top, but it's above all those moving averages.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, you know, it's got a little dividend to it as well. This is not a bad setup.
Looks good to me. Yeah, great company for on the long term, short term as well. Let's move on to ENPH. I will take this one.
Which one?
ENPH. Enphase Energy.
Enphase Energy.
Now, let me take a look at this company here. Semiconductor equipment and materials tech, U.S. company on the NASDAQ, $5 billion in market cap. Obviously, semis have been strong. It's got, man, they are flooding the market with shares. Instead of a buyback program, they're expanding their share count, and the stock is still performing very well.
They're doing an additional issuing.
Yeah, in fact, they went from 50 million shares outstanding in 2016. They've got over 100 million shares outstanding today. In this market environment we're in, Noah, most companies are actually buying back shares to kind of artificially prop up the demand for the stock price. This company's going the opposite trend, which I find interesting. EPS numbers look good. It's a high PE ratio stock, 100 PE ratio. So we're talking growth company. Cody, if you've already been in a long-term relationship with this company, you're already, kind of right there. You're not going anywhere.
I'm not going anywhere. This company's made me happy.
Now, by the way, they might have some bumps in the road. They might have this and that, because the earnings, it gapped last earnings where it gapped down like 20%, but in the long term, I'm looking at a stock, guys. Geez, criminy on the monthly chart. Since 2018, we've gone from $2 a share to $40 a share. So yeah, it's been a strong performer, growth company, high PE ratio stock. There's a lot of risk in a relationship like that, Noah. What do they say? That until you get past a certain number of years of marriage, you don't have evidence there? What do they call that? Like the 3-year benchmark? I don't know. I don't
know. The only thing that comes to mind is the 7-year, Rich. I don't even know what that means really, but whatever that is.
Yeah. I think
this is it just reminds me of a very young, promising type thing, not an established track record, but this is kind of like, youth over substance. I'm not sure, but the fact that it's been rising after they've been issuing more shares, that's a very different trend than you're seeing. I actually like that because, stock prices rising on buybacks, kind of a false sense of security.
Yeah, I'm with you. Couple of quick ones here. Cody, Uber. It's always an interesting company. They got earnings tonight, by the way, so it's going to be tough.
Yeah, I would wait till after.
Ask me tomorrow.
Ask me tomorrow.
Ask me tomorrow.
Yeah, it's like when your partner has a court date and you're like, all right, ask me tomorrow. Let's see if whatever it is.
I'll visit you in prison, I promise.
Twitter, we already talked about. Roberto, I'll just mention it real quickly. If you love Twitter, you're probably not going anywhere. I mean, if you believe in that social media stuff. If you're waiting on Twitter and you're waiting for confirmation, maybe it's got to break out of that weekly, longer term channel that it's got going on. Tesla, Linda says, although we've already discussed it, I just love Tesla. Don't tell Matt. Oh, no, we'll tell Matt, Linda. I love it when Matt gets on the Tesla soapbox. There's no doubt about it. And you be you, Linda. You don't need Matt to tell you whether or not you can love Tesla or not.
You don't have to. Anybody who you beat in fantasy football, you don't have to actually respect their opinion.
That's right. That's right. You did beat him in fantasy football. RUN, real quick, Cody. This is a solar company.
Well, Run is running. You were getting on me the other day when I was talking about wave counts. That's got a perfect wave count almost. Like that's pretty textbook. It's at the top on the last leg of that count. So if you're looking to get in it now, I would want a good retracement before trying to get in. But I mean, the past, it's got a lot of resistance got to get through. Could it do it? Yes, possibly. What does it look like a little longer term there, Noah?
That is, I think, the extent of your data. Oh, you got a little bit more data in there. That's
So
it. It's not too far off those benchmark.
Yeah, not too far off the highs. I want to see it calm down for a little bit, and then I'd be looking to possibly grab a longer term entry into this company because it looks fine to me.
Okay. Yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you. And if it's in the chat, we'll do it. Any new ones though, we're making a cutoff right here. We're getting down towards the end of the show here. Let's go to Regeneron, REGN from Paul. Paul Lou, always great to see Halftime Crew in here. Hashtag Halftime Crew. Let's take a peek here. What a beautiful V-shaped recovery into earnings. Is earnings, was it today here, Noah? Check that date. Or is that
today? Looks like they actually beat their estimate.
Mm-hmm.
And sure they had a lot of energy leading up into the earnings announcement. That's always a curious thing for me. When you see big runs heading into earnings, it always makes me feel like somebody knows something. Institutions are trying to get in on that prior to the, that beat. That's a pretty solid, after a big sell-off, boom, that's a lot of effort.
Insider trading.
Go back to the weekly chart though. This is where multiple time frame analysis, when you're evaluating a longer term relationship, you don't want to just be on one date, Cody. The daily chart, yeah, you're dating there. It's looking pretty good. The weekly chart, not so good, Noah. There's mixed information here about Regeneron in the data. I like the fundamentals just fine. I'm looking at return on equity strong. I'm looking at the sales numbers are pretty good. EPS this year and next year are going to be steady, Eddie. The next 5-year projections are good. PE ratio is only a 20, and your forward PE ratio is 15. So fundamentals are fine. It's a $40 billion pharmaceutical company. But the charts got mixed information, I think. That longer term downtrend, Noah, if you connect those dots, that's you're at
and that's what a lot of traders would be looking for a bullish confirmation. They really like it, and I really like it as well, when it can break that downward trend.
Absolutely.
It can violate up above that and start trading up, towards that 400, 420 ballpark. That's going to give you a reversal pattern off of that longer time frame. So,
break 400.
Break 400. Break 400.
Break 400. Regeneron actually would be a good trigger signal, even for the short term. Long term, you've got some good stuff here in the fundamentals. Got to get clarity on the chart there. Gold, we've already discussed. I mean, if you're in a relationship with gold, Muhammad, you ain't going anywhere. That's like your best dog, Cody. Yeah, it's there. It's going to be there for you.
Very loyal.
Absolutely. That's right. ISRG, last one, boys. And then we wrap this. Great show today so far. I've enjoyed it. Man, surgical company. I got to tell you, I broke up with this company so long ago and I'm never coming back. So I already have a bias here from this perspective. Missed out on this entire run for years. I remember maybe 10 years ago, it had the most random, like 40, 50% gap down. It crushed some volatility spreads I had. Matt, I think, had iron condors on it. I've got old bad blood with this one, Noah. You ever get a bias on a company?
Yes, absolutely. And I've used ISRG in the past with like volatility crush plays around earnings. It's had a history of gapping on earnings. It seems to have diminished a bit as of late. It still gaps, but not like it used to.
Yeah.
And this has been a tough one to trade for the shorter term trade. Now for the buy and hold, if you bought and held, you obviously can't complain about that.
Yeah.
But it's been a volatile relationship over the years that probably gave you some heartburn along the way. But long-term growth, that's been pretty stellar. But personality-wise, it is volatile. It's got big movements. It can do crazy things around earnings. And one of the things that got me originally a little turned off with it is that it was doing gaps before earnings. They would actually, information would leak prior to their announcement.
Well, it doesn't look like it's been that way for a few years. I probably have missed out on this one a little bit here. Quite frankly, I'm looking at the fundamentals here, guys. The EPS trends are up year over year, 15-20% for the last 6 years in a row. Sales numbers have been consistently growing year over year for a long time. Next year's projection on EPS is supposed to grow 15%. You're talking about a 50 PE ratio in the medical device sector. It's not a great swing trade. But if you're in a relationship, Cody, I don't think you got to go anywhere, do you?
I don't mind anything. Yeah, if you're in a relationship with this, stay in it.
If you're looking for something new, maybe a break out of the all-time high.
Well, it's going to be an interesting relationship. That's it. It's performing well, but it certainly has that volatility to it.
Yeah.
Some people like the crazy ones, though.
It's that crazy hot scale. Is that where it goes?
A little bit,
right?
A little bit. I mean, Noah did marry a professional race car driver, so there's a little volatility in our relationships, Noah, that we do like, right?
Yeah, excitement.
Yeah,
give me a little thrill. There you go.
A little something. Yeah. All right, guys. Very, very fun show.
When you go on road trips, then do you make her drive?
It's a good question.
Does she ever let you drive? Talking about. We take turns.
Yeah, my wife drives a lot of the time when we're on the trips. Yeah.
I'll tell you what, though. I walked Cody. Just yesterday, though. I walked into my bedroom and she was swapping out the light fixture.
Oh, really?
Yeah. She's up on a ladder. She's like, "Hey, can you hand me that screwdriver?" I'm like, "Okay, all right." And I'm like, "Cool, we got a new light fixture. How about that?"
She's a badass. Yeah, no doubt about it. All right, guys. If you're watching our show still, thanks for being here. As always, always give me a thumbs up. It helps our analytics. We're doing these YouTube shows for a very simple reason: to promote tackle trading, to grow our community, and to have some fun with you guys each and every day. The big thing behind the daily show is to teach you about daily routine. How to go through the stock market, commodity markets, go through the news, understand it, see the big picture, and cut through the noise that's usually on the other channels, Cody. We're just traders. We get right to the real data, real information that matters, move through it. And we always put a trial in below. Cody, you've been a trader now for 6 years. Thank you for correcting me, young man, earlier. I don't know why I was thinking 4 or 5, but
I think it was because 4 years ago is when I met Matt. So I was, an unsuccessful trader.
That's right. So before that, you're doing a little bit, but you're a very, very polished trader at this point. You know how to run your cover call systems in your retirement accounts. You trade Forex. You've been expanding systems. Now we can always improve. There's no doubt about it.
Yep.
But I've seen growth out of you in the last 2 years, even after your mentorship with Matt. A lot of that, and I will just let you tell me, I think is probably your consistency to your routine, right? And being a part of our community. Give a pitch and a promotion for our product, Cody. Tackle Trading's Pro Service. What do people get? Why would they buy it? Why would they enroll? All that kind of stuff.
There's no better place than Tackle Trading, and I do mean that. And starting off as a student in Tackle Trading, and then slowly learning and becoming closer with you guys and becoming a coach with Tackle Trading. Because it starts off just when you're new and you're not sure what you're doing, you need you need the education to learn. So Tackle offers all the education from swing trading 101, basic 101 courses to advanced systems that we can also have, bear market survival guide, things of that sort. So just from the education point, starting there. Next is, after you get an education, you need to kind of understand how to find stocks. Like what do you actually trade? What's a good trade? And great place to start there is with the scouting reports every week that Tackle Trading puts out. Tackle Trading, the coaches get together every Friday and they go through their picks. So if you're unsure what, is a good trade moving into next week, that's also a fantastic benefit. And then of course, the final one, which is probably the most handy, is the community. If you are just sitting at your home by yourself, staring at a chart, and maybe you have some emotions you're dealing with, or, FOMO or fear, greed, they're all kind of, it's hard to ever connect and understand what you're feeling. But when you're in a community and you can ask questions and you can talk about these things, that a group of traders is going to become a more powerful group than one trader by themselves. Mm-hmm. So those 3 things I would say are the bullet points of why Tackle is the best out there, hands down. And if you want to be a part of our community, guys, 15-day free trial down in the description, or you can always email Mark, team@tackletrading.com, and he'll get you set up.
There's no real magic secrets or shortcuts to becoming a good trader. You got to put your butt in the seat. You got to put the work in, just like you have, Cody. You've got to be willing to trade and journal and learn and grow from your mistakes. And That's all something that I think that you've done the last 6 years, Cody. I love seeing your progress. I love seeing your development. I think you're 100% right. Tackle trading as a community, there's a reason why, even as a 15-year veteran, not just because I own it, Noah, but I use the content. I go in and I watch the shows. I go in and I use the picks. I'm using the information because as a trader, when you know where the information is coming from, you know the sources, you know they're real traders, and you know that it's about just cultivating this community. It's a really powerful thing. So get in the game, guys. Obviously sign up for a trial. If you're not a pro member yet, give it a shot. We've got a lot of great pro members out there. We got a vibrant community. I think you'll be very, very interested to see what's on the back end of that pro membership. So trial in the comments below. Great job, Cody. Always a great job, Noah. And we'll see everybody tomorrow. And Frank will be joining us. Breakout Frank. We're going to have some fun with that. I'll see you guys tomorrow.